Hi, hello everyone. Wow, so today we are back for the last time this season, going to be talking about Survivor season 46, the finale episode. So, my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa, and whew, this finale episode was something. I feel like there was a lot of drama. The results are not necessarily what one would expect, but I still feel like it was a great season. I don't know about you, Rachel, but I feel like this is like top, definitely top 20, maybe even top 10 season.
I thought I had a really fun time this entire season, each week coming here to talk with you, Alyssa. It was a lot of fun. I think 46 is one of the better seasons in the new era, and I'm excited for the future next season, Survivor season 40 several. The little preview dropped at the end of this season like it always does, and there's some recognizable faces on there.
Yeah, 40 several is going to be a wild ride, but I'm looking forward to wrapping up 46 first.
Yeah, it was a good time. This season was a lot of fun and a lot of things to look forward to in Survivor. And Survivor Australia. That Australian Survivor is about to be really good in the upcoming year.
Oh, Lord. I cannot even think about Australian Survivor right now.
So, to start off the finale, we have some aftermath after last week's episode with the Maria getting blindsided. We start with Maria apologizing to Charlie of why Maria voted for Charlie at last week's tribal council. I feel like Charlie did well here. Like, you have to be fake nice or real nice, even if you're angry deep down or you hate the person deep down. You have to be friendly. And a lot of people, I feel like, mess this up where they're like, F that person. I don't like them anymore because they wrote my name down. Even if that's the true case, you gotta fake it.
Yeah, I feel like Charlie did a good job faking nice, but yeah, I feel like it's also hard for him to be bitter just given he was also going to go for Maria if she had lost the immunity challenge. So I feel like he recognized that he would have been a hypocrite if he didn't like at least be somewhat okay with it, which I feel like is also a big thing where people are like, I would never do that to you. And it's like, Charlie would do that to Maria, in fact. So it's not as big of a deal.
Exactly. Like Charlie realizes, okay, it's a game move. We can have this friendship relationship, but it's a game at the end of the day. Two people aren't winning the money. And he was also trying to go for her as she was coming for him. And yeah, might not be the opposite way around, but you have to realize it's a game and not take too much butt hurted from this.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like a lot of people have been saying that the jury was all butthurt, so I'd be interested how Charlie would have behaved if he had ended up on the jury instead of ending up, you know, where he did.
Yeah, we also see Maria say, "Oh, I see how hard everyone is playing now." So coming across not so well, similar to like the rock, paper, scissors and some other decisions in the past episodes that we've seen. Liz's confessional here was really funny, where she's like, just the face. I don't have words for that. Just the face.
Liz, I feel like, was so great this episode. She was, I don't think she was trying to be comedic, but she definitely was. So that was also one of my favorite moments from this episode. Just a face. I hope that she's taking that just a face to Applebee's.
Or put it on a t-shirt and just say, just the face. Because it's such a like, it reminds me of that one cat meme with the like really flat, like flat mouth.
Yep. I feel like so many of these cast lines could be like excellent t-shirts. Like I want a t-shirt that just says cancel Christmas.
So we get to the final five immunity challenge. You have to go through obstacles, and then there is a puzzle with a combination lock solution at the end. I liked this aspect because it's new. We haven't really seen, like, okay, complete the puzzle. The puzzle has the word phrase, and then solve this other combination puzzle basically, and it tripped people up, something new we haven't seen before. So I liked this aspect of the challenge, especially for Final Five. Like, let's trick some people and make them a little bit confused.
Yes, I love the trickery. I love that things are getting a little spicy. I feel like this was a really interesting Final Five puzzle, which hasn't always been the case.
Yeah. So, with the Final Five immunity challenge, with this puzzle, Liz ends up going back and then getting Kenzie's board, which is one of the number combinations you need to unlock the combination lock. And, like, it is what it is basically now that it has happened. There's a lot of discourse online now of like, okay, what's the rules for like helping, cheating, assisting in challenges? And like this cheating, assisting topic is always such a drama topic. I feel like we see it a lot on other TV shows, like The Amazing Race is a really big one. Like, okay, you can help. It's strategy to form an alliance and help others in the challenges, but then you could say, okay, it's really not fair if you just give the other teams the solution. They can get it done in 5 minutes when it's taking someone else doing it alone 30 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely is interesting also because Liz wasn't doing it so Kenzie would win. She was doing it so Maria would lose. And like that
Mm-hmm.
feels ickier to me personally than being like, oh, I really want this person to win. Like if Kenzie was like, I know I'm not going to win the game, but I would really want to win like one immunity challenge. I could see helping her. But it feels ickier to me when it was just to screw over Maria, which is like, I guess you can't judge whether or not something is game legal based on how it feels in your gut. But that was something that, came up for me when I was thinking about it.
Yeah, like apparently now they've changed the rules and you can't help each other in survivor challenges. So it is interesting. Like what Maria took it like a champ. She was very like giving the correct answers up there. Like, oh, yeah, it takes two people to beat me. I feel so honored, kind of thing. But it's like, I wonder what if she stood up there and was like, Jeff, what's the rules of the game? Is this allowed? What would have happened? Would they have to like redo the challenge or go back and like look at the rule book? Because it does feel bad. Like if Maria could have won that challenge, if not for Liz helping Kenzie, maybe Maria could have won the game.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where you don't want to be seen like a sore loser. And I feel like Jeff wouldn't let them redo the challenge anyway. Like he couldn't be like, oh, this is a void challenge. We have to do it again. So I feel like you don't want to seem like a sore loser by asking. And then also from Jeff's perspective, the producer's perspective, it's kind of like, do you really like want to have them rerun the challenge? Because like the whole reason Kenzie needed help was because she didn't know what the plank was that they were talking about, and she had left the plank behind. So it's kind of like if you don't have that like kerfuffle, Kenzie knew the correct combination on the combination lock. So they would need to do like a whole new challenge or like void the results or something. So I get why Maria didn't speak up, but also talk about $1 million mistake.
Yeah, like cheating, assisting in challenges definitely opens up a can of worms because then here they're like, okay, we don't want Maria to win, so let's help Kenzie win. What if you're like, I don't want Maria to win, so like it's probably most definitely not allowed, but you're like, okay, let me go steal her board so she can't go count up the little holes in it. That's cheating in a different way of like preventing someone from being able to complete the challenge kind of thing. So I think it's good that they're like clarifying the rules on like what's allowed and what's not allowed in challenges. It just does suck. I feel like for Maria, like for her, okay, an honor to be teamed up against, but also I feel like that's something you might think about later on. Like, what if I won that challenge fair and square? Maybe I could have won the game.
I mean, it sucks in general when you're the reason a new rule has to be come up with. So I feel like definitely for Maria, this might be a moment that haunts her.
Yeah, so we go to this first tribal council, and it's just one of those tribal councils where it's like there's nothing you can do to not be voted out. Like Maria is going here, which also extra sucks based off the challenge that now, okay, this is like the death knell for Maria. She's the challenge beast. We need to vote her out. We helped each other in the challenge, so she couldn't win, and now we are 100% for sure voting her out. And I feel like tribal councils like this sort of suck. It feels bad for the person, like there's nothing you can do. You just accept your fate basically kind of thing. But like, I don't know. It's hard because I feel like there has to be tribals where there's such a big obvious threat. You're obviously going to vote them out. It'd be dumb of you not to vote them out, but it just sucks here. Like, there's nothing she could do because of the challenge.
Yeah, at that point, it's kind of like, just let me go home already. Like, we don't need to prolong this. Like, I can't imagine sitting around the beach all day being like, knowing that you're going home and just not being able to do anything about it.
Yeah, like, okay, maybe finding an idol or something like that. Maria tried to get Liz and Charlie to vote Ben. Like, she did go out fighting, so that's a good thing, but it's probably a little bit like, okay, I'm going to try to do this, but like 99% sure I'm going home tonight unless I find an advantage.
Yeah, so feels bad for Maria.
Yeah, she gets voted out in this unanimous vote here. Definitely does suck. One of those tribals, like, really nothing you can do to not get voted out here.
Yeah. You feel like everyone's been saying that at least she got like the best send off that she could. Like it was very emotional. Everyone clapped. But I still feel like you would probably rather not go home if given the choice. So it doesn't matter how good your send off is, you would rather have stayed.
Yeah, because you could say, okay, Maria should have just won the challenge. We saw what happened to the challenge, so you can't really say that here. Maybe you say Maria should have managed her threat level better, like Charlie won 2 challenges, Kenzie won 2 challenges now, something like that maybe to not get voted out. But it is difficult. It's like, yes, you're good at challenges, and that's part of the reason why they want to vote you out. But also, she could have broke the record, and Jeff mentioned multiple times in front of everyone else this record that she could have potentially broken.
Yeah, but I also feel like Maria's main threat wasn't even necessarily her challenge prowess. Like a lot of what made her threatening also was her relationship with Charlie and the fact that the two of them were controlling the votes. And so it's kind of like if you're Charlie, you still are going to try to get Maria out. And so that's not really a threat that you can manage against because it's like, are you just going to say no one is allowed to have an alliance ever in case their alliance member wants to get them out? Like, so. I feel like even if Maria hadn't been herself, like hadn't been the challenge beast that she was, she still would have been on the chopping block this episode because of her relationship with Charlie and both of them wanting to kind of cut ties between their twosome so that only one of them got to the end.
And it seems like with the, oh, I see everyone's playing the game now, comments like that probably rub them the wrong way. And like in Final Tribal, we hear, okay, we got the goats together in this foursome to take out Q and Maria. Maybe you say, okay, one of her big blunders, besides, and probably like the rock, paper, scissors probably rub people the wrong way. Besides those like social faux pas would be Q getting voted out last week, because then maybe they could have done like an idol play or something this week.
Yeah. So, rip Maria, I guess.
So Maria gets voted out. We go into the final 4 immunity challenge. You have to do the classic survivor puzzle while your ball is falling down. So it's like a timer based puzzle. And then if you miss the ball falling down, then it goes through this really slow track. So then you can't work on your puzzle anymore. I think this challenge similar to the final 5 challenge with the combination lock at the end. This is like a different version of Samotion. I'm glad we didn't get Samotion for the umpteenth time in a row here, but it's like a variation of it.
Yeah, I mean, I like Samotion a lot, but it's kind of predictable when it's always the Final 4 challenge. So I like this one too. It was interesting.
Charlie, he missed the ball 2 times. Big mistake, as Q would say. But also it's like, okay, maybe not a big mistake because he was brought through to final 3. It wasn't like he was voted out here because he lost the puzzle, but maybe if he won this challenge, he could have had some more power and agency. Maybe that could have won him the game. But it just sucks. It's like the ball in that track after you miss it is so slow. It's painful to watch him and Liz just standing there.
Yup, it's just kind of like chop, chop, chop. I can't imagine like if it was slow watching it from my television. It must have been even slower standing there.
Seriously, like Jake stepping on the like piece last season and breaking it because he's frustrated. Like this is $1 million challenge literally, and you have to stand there doing nothing. It's got I would that would be so terrible.
Yep, it would be awful. So I guess it's a good thing that neither of us are on Survivor because we would just be too impatient for that.
So Ben wins the challenge. It's his first immunity win. He was so excited. So this is very good for him. But he basically has a really hard decision now to make between his two friends. And then we learned that Liz has wrist issues. So she's probably really bad at fire, which I'm like, this is a new thing to add to the Liz lore. You know, we know she's allergic to a lot of things. Now we know that like the ligaments in her wrists are really flimsy.
Yeah, Liz seems like such an interesting person. I would like if she wrote like an autobiography, I would read it just because I want to know how she became a millionaire and how she came to have weak wrist ligaments. But I feel like it was kind of alluded to earlier in the season because she has someone else make the fire so that she can cook her rice during the Applebee's challenge, I think. So I think Liz being bad at fire has been foreshadowed, so I was not surprised by the result of fire making, let's say.
Yeah, it's opposite of Dee's big toe helping her win, Liz's wrists helping her lose at fire, which is interesting because Ben is basically saying, okay, Liz is the biggest threat here. And Liz is also saying, I'm the biggest threat. I'm going to win the game, which is interesting because I feel like we haven't necessarily seen that this season, and maybe with the editing it's because Liz doesn't end up winning the game that we didn't see that this season. But I do really wish that she made it to final tribal because listening to her exit interviews were all really really interesting. She's a good speaker, she's funny in these interviews, and she basically had a lot of strategy, it seems like, throughout the season, which was cut because she's not the winner, which makes sense. And she said one of the big bombs that she was going to drop at Final Tribal was that she actually wasn't a millionaire, and it's a lie.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because sometimes they do edit the fourth place placer to be like a super huge threat because then you feel bad for them for going out at fire. But I think that Jeff is starting to realize that people don't really like the Final Four fire making, so they try not to edit the loser of Final Four fire making as much. That way, people don't feel as bad when they go home. But that could just be my conspiracy theory. But also, I don't really know what Liz thought was going to happen with the whole like, haha, I'm not actually a millionaire thing. Because it's like, okay, like, what does she want people to say? Just like give her the $1 million so she can actually be a millionaire and not have spent the whole time lying to all of them? Like, I don't understand what her play is there. Like, why would you fake being a millionaire? That doesn't make you more relatable or anything.
I think like it's what we said at the start of the season when we learned that she was really rich. It's like, okay, if you're really rich, maybe people would bring you to the end because they won't want to give you a ton of money because you already have a lot of money. So then at the end, if you say, actually, I don't really have a lot of money, I need this money, maybe people would be more willing to give you the money, similar to like Kenzie saying that she could use this money in all of these great ways and it's really really life changing. Liz could maybe say something similar to that. But then I feel like lying about being a millionaire also a little bit backfired because Ben is like, I'm broke, I don't want Liz in final 3 because Liz is rich. But
Yeah,
like it also makes sense, like Ben is way closer to Charlie and Kenzie, so like Liz is probably going into fire whether she's rich or not, but like Ben is says he's really really broke, so he doesn't want Liz there cuz she's really really rich.
yeah. I don't see a situation where that wouldn't backfire, but because I feel like you don't just bring someone to the final because they're really, really rich. You think you bring someone to the final because they're really, really rich and you can beat them. Like, if you can't also beat them, then, like, it's not the point. Like, there are some jury members who will still vote for the person who played the best game, regardless of whether or not they're rich. So,
Yeah, and apparently Ben kept saying that Liz was a threat, so I would be interested in like that's why I would have wanted her in Final Tribal. Like, what would her arguments be, and would people actually have given her the money as she thinks and as Ben thinks here? Like, how big of a threat was she actually to potentially win the game? I'd want to know that.
yeah, and then also, like, how much of it is historical revisionism, where, like, Ben is saying this now because, or I guess he's not saying it now, but, like, how much are people saying now because Liz didn't get to the end? Because it felt like a lot of the jury didn't like her as much as she thinks that they liked her. But that could just be my perception.
Yeah, so Charlie here, he says that he doesn't need slash want fire making on his resume. I guess we can talk about that with Final Tribal Council, but I did really like this end segment here when Ben was making his decision. We got some confessionals from the people, and they had the like flint scraping sound in the background during this. I thought it was a really, really cool edit.
I thought so too, but also I kind of hate that flint scraping sound, so it was not it for me.
Yeah, a little bit nails on the chalkboard, but I was like, oh, this is cool for a short period.
Yeah, for a short period.
So we get to the fire making challenge, and it is Kenzie versus Liz. Liz is funny here when Charlie is trying to help Kenzie. Liz says, Charlie, she effing knows. That was funny. And then exit press, Charlie was saying he said this because the challenge was taking so long that he was just like helping both of them.
Yeah, I cannot imagine a challenge taking that long, but good for Charlie, I guess.
They were saying that they thought they would have to bring out matches, like, it was really long, apparently.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's interesting because I feel like didn't last I was gonna say last year's, but I meant last season's fire making go really quickly. Like, am I imagining that? Because I feel
One
like
of them
there's
just broke the record, yeah.
yeah. So I think Heidi was the one who broke the record.
Mhm.
So just like it baffles me the wide range of like fire making skills that are present in Survivor. Like, one season you can have a record breaker, the next you can be like, okay, where's the matches?
Jeff did say before the start of this fire making challenge, like, we didn't give them all the materials like we did in previous seasons. So maybe that's why last season was so quick, but then this season was like super long because they didn't get the whole box of stuff and only the flint. But I'm like, yeah, does that really make it 46 seconds or whatever it was to like 10 plus minutes? However long it takes to get matches on Survivor.
Yeah, I don't know. But I also don't know why they wouldn't give them the whole box of materials, though. Maybe for the drama, but
Yeah, here's a kitty
Jeffrey
cat.
Probst's mind. I don't understand it.
He's just trying to make things unnecessarily hard, like no flint and no rice.
You're not wrong.
So Kenzie ends up winning this fire making challenge. Like I mentioned, I sort of wanted Liz to make it to the end because it would have been funny. Just to, we heard so much about her wrists being bad. It was sort of like my wrists are bad, but I could still win fire. I'd want to see her jury argument. Because, like, whenever she would talk about being such a big threat here at this last tribal council of hers, it would always cut to, like, the jury's faces, and they're always sort of making weird faces or, like, rolling their eyes to what Liz was saying. And maybe it was just edited from other things and cut to, like, someone rolling their eyes. So I would want to know, did the jury think she's a big threat or not?
Maybe she's lying about her wrists the same way she's lying about being a millionaire.
Oh my
You
god,
never
maybe
know.
she's not even allergic then.
Maybe she's not.
So It seems like with the final vote here, Maria, maybe others penalized Charlie for being brought to the final three compared to Kenzie and Fire. We hear Maria's reasoning for not voting Charlie was seeing the fire in Kenzie's eyes while she was making fire, and that she wanted to give Kenzie the money as a mother to someone else starting their family. But I feel like we're getting this more and more now where like the final immunity challenge winner and the person being brought to the end are getting penalized for not throwing themselves into fire or not volunteering to go into fire.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because, like, if you're Charlie, you can say, like, oh, I volunteered to go into fire and Ben didn't pick me, even if that's not the truth. Like, I guess Ben's right there to correct him. But I feel like it's one of those things where if you're Charlie, you shouldn't just be like, I don't feel like I need this. You should volunteer and then let Ben do what Ben does. Be like, I tried. I can't make Ben do anything he doesn't want to do. So.
Yeah, or I feel like it's good social game. Like we see Tommy saying, yeah, to be brought through, that proves my social game. Why would I want to go into an extra challenge where I can lose? Same thing here. It's like to be brought can demonstrate your social relationship. Someone likes you enough that they want to bring you to the end. It could also mean they think that you're going to lose at the end, and that's why they brought you. But like, Ben's reasoning was Charlie's played a really great game. I really like Charlie a lot as a friend. I want him to have his chance to speak in front of the jury. So it shows Charlie has a good social game to be brought and not like he's a goat being brought to the end kind of thing. Same thing if you won the final immunity challenge, why should you give up immunity to throw yourself into fire?
Yeah. It's one of those things that seems like kind of a peril of the whole like resume building like metagame of Survivor, where it's like not everything should be in service of the resume. Like some things can just be what they are. Like you shouldn't have to like min max your resume in order to have a chance to win.
Yeah, and the fire making challenge, like there's like some gotta look at the stats. They're probably on Reddit of like fire making winner leading to become the winner of the game compared to being brought or the immunity challenge winner kind of thing. Yeah, and like just sort of sucks. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Best thing would be for you to be put into fire maybe or throw yourself into fire and to win fire. Best thing would be to win fire basically, cuz then you're not eliminated and you won fire in front of the jury.
I mean, of course, the best thing is always going to be not being eliminated. But I don't know. It just feels like one of those things where fire making has become more of a hassle than like the cure. If that makes sense. Like it was to cure the fact that the most interesting player always went home at number 4. But now it's like changing winners by people being like, why aren't you in fire making? So
Yeah, exactly. So we get to final tribal. It ends up being Kenzie with 5 votes, Charlie with 3 votes, and Ben with 0 votes. The people that voted for Charlie were Liz, Hunter, and Soda. The people that voted for Kenzie were Venus, Q, Maria, Tiffany, and Tevin. Low key, just for funsies, I think it should have been a tie. So then Ben had to choose in the moment. Postseason, Ben is saying he would have chosen Charlie to win the game, but like, just Ben distraught there. It would have been interesting. Like, who do you pick out of your two friends?
yeah, that would have been so hard. And I feel like Maria is getting a lot of flack for her choice to vote for Kenzie instead of Charlie. But I also feel like it's one of those things where, the winner is the winner. And maybe Ben is just saying Charlie because Charlie's the one who lost. And maybe in the actual heat of the moment, he would have voted for Kenzie. So.
Yeah, it's like Maria not voting Charlie. Charlie could have swayed anyone to vote for him to win or to even try to get the 4-4 tie. Like, you can't necessarily blame Maria because there's, what, 8 people on this jury? But I feel like Maria not voting for Charlie here definitely probably hurts a lot more, given that your best friend ally doesn't vote for you at the end. Best case scenario is you want to be like Tiffany and Kenzie's relationship. It seems like Tiffany was really gassing up Kenzie at Ponderosa, gassing up Kenzie here at the end, even though Tiffany said, okay, friendship aside, da da da, you want the friend that's gassing you up at Ponderosa.
Yeah, I feel like also it's one of those things where Tiff had longer to like settle into the fact that she was voted out and that she wasn't going to be the winner. Whereas I feel like if you're Maria, it definitely hits harder being the last person voted out because two people conspired against you at the final immunity challenge. Like, I know a lot of Survivor fans like have things against bitter juries, but like if anyone has the right to be bitter, I feel like it's Maria. So
I would say I think it's interesting. Like Charlie and Maria basically played the same game. They were together the entire time. So for her not voting Charlie to win the game, does that basically mean that she doesn't think she deserves to win the game? Because if you and your best ally played very similar games and you don't vote for them, are you saying you wouldn't have voted for yourself to win the game?
well, maybe if you're Maria, you say, I would have won the Final Four immunity challenge and put myself in fire. So that would be very different from what Charlie did. If you believe what people say, that like the fire was really a pivotal moment. So
Yeah, I feel like for me, I think Charlie, from what we saw, played the better strategic game. Kenzie played the more likable social game. She also has the better story here. Kenzie's answer to the what would you do with the money question was better. And like her story explaining like working since she was 15 all the way to Yanu sucking, going to all these challenges and still making it to the end, it just probably makes people feel better on the inside compared to like Charlie's story here.
it's always easier to vote for the underdog than to vote for the person who was kind of kicking your butt the whole time. Because I feel like the fact that Charlie was more strategically masterful actually like makes it harder to vote for him because you're like, okay, well, you're the reason I got out, so I don't really want to give you money. So
Yeah, same thing probably for like Chris Underwood versus Gavin, the underdog versus someone who maybe had more of their finger on the pulse or led more votes.
exactly. So I feel like it's one of those things where I personally believe either Charlie or Kenzie would have been a deserving winner. I feel like I would have had more feelings if Ben was the one who got to win because of a bitter jury. But I feel like Kenzie is still a good winner. She's still a very like strong social player. Looking back at the game, I feel like it's still obvious why she won. And I feel like all of those are great things rather than like something to look down on just because people wish that Maria would have voted a different way.
I think it's funny in our preseason cast assessment, we said Kenzie is someone that looks so cool that we would want to be friends with her in real life, literally just based off her picture and the little bios that they submit. So I'm like, her social game was emanating through the screen. We wanted to vote for her from day one since we saw her.
Some people just have that natural charisma, man.
Yeah, like seriously. And yeah, at the end of the day, I think Survivor, these games where you're voting for the winner, it's basically a popularity contest. Obviously, you can't be lying at Final Tribal because people will call you out like, yo, you didn't say that, or you didn't do that, you didn't drive that vote. But if you can weave the story the best way possible, and maybe you had a move here or there, or you're left out of votes even, as long as you can weave it together and people like you enough that they'd want to give you $1 million, they'll vote for you to win the game. It's not always the best strategic game that wins. Here, Kenzie had a better social game and made a lot more friends that they wanted to vote for her. They wanted to give her the money at the end. Like a lot of
Exactly.
other things with voting, it's just a popularity contest.
Yep, and you just have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with the fact that maybe the best person isn't going to win. I feel like we kind of talk that to death on like our podcast and just in general, but the best person to win is the one who wins the game. So
Yeah. It's like that's who the jury picked. So Kenzie is our winner of Survivor season 46. Reunion show happens directly after she's crowned the champ here, and like same stuff we talk about every single season at this point in time. Bring back the live reunion. It was so freaking awkward watching Charlie just sit there processing the loss, processing Maria not voting for him, processing maybe it could have been a 4-4 tie, or maybe I could have had 5 votes and Kenzie had 3 votes. I'm like, it's just awkward.
Yeah. And I also feel like there's some merit to like doing it 6 months later just to have kind of a where are they now? Because like people have learned since then that Kenzie like has started her family, which is one of the things that she wanted the money for. And so that I feel like would have been like a really great moment in the reunion to be like, you know, I am starting my family. Like this did change my life. Oh, I guess she wouldn't have known then. Wow. She wouldn't have known that she had the money. So she maybe wouldn't have gotten pregnant if she didn't know whether or not she was going to be a millionaire. So wild, but you know, I always like to see people's post island glow up as well. So
I know, yeah. Like you get some of the revisionist history in a live reunion that's taking place like 6 months or a year after the fact, after filming, after they've seen the fan reaction and all of that. But like I know I like seeing them 6 months, a year later to see what they're up to see them answer questions. And I feel like it's hard for like Charlie here to be put on the spot of like Jeff asking, how do you feel that Maria didn't vote for you? And like he answered that question so well, given that he just lost the game, in this handful of minutes between this. And I'm like, dang, a lot of other people probably wouldn't have answered that question as well as him.
I'm pissed. Yeah. It kind of feels unfair. Though I guess some people have said that it's harder. Like if you do genuinely go those like 6 months thinking that you are the winner and then find out that you're not the winner, maybe that's more devastating than, you know, the immediate turnarounds.
That's true. You rip the band-aid off quicker, maybe that's good, and no delayed gratification here. But I want the live reunion. I want to see some of the pre-jury people too. Like I would have wanted to see Banu again to hear what he's been up to.
Yeah, some people are saying that it's better that we didn't get that because Banu would have just stolen the show again. And, you know, in some ways I agree because I really like the post jury people. So, yeah, I think there are pros and cons of every way.
Yeah, so it's a wrap for Survivor season 46. Survivor season 47 will start in the fall. They really got to put some names on these things because all the numbers are just confusing. I'm like, I don't really remember who wins which season number anymore. But before you could be like, yeah, I know the winner of Tocantins. I know the winner of Cambodia because it's like an easy thing to remember. Now trying to correlate numbers with people, I'm like, they're all mixing up.
I know the names of like the last 6 winners, but I could not tell you which one was which season. So
Yeah. Unless I count them in order. Like, okay, Erica, so that would have been 41, then Marianne. I'm like, otherwise, I'm like,
yeah, not a fun time.
So we saw the preview for season 47. Asia from RHAP is on season 47, and she had a little confessional in there, and I'm like, yo, I recognize that voice. I recognize her. Like, is this Asia? Is this the person that I'm thinking of? So then obviously the clip was like 15 less seconds. I was like, okay, I'm not going to rewind. So I went to Reddit and it was, yeah, people are also recognizing her. So I think it'll be very interesting. It's like, I would say one of the first like true podcast people going onto the show after already being a podcaster rather than like, okay, go on the show and then you become a podcaster. You're a podcaster first and then you're going on the show. Which there are like other Survivor super fans that do go on the show, but I think it'll be very interesting for like the podcaster community. How does someone very similar to us fare on the show?
Especially because I feel like Rob Has a Podcast is like the premier like
Mm-hmm.
Survivor podcast. So with the amount of super fans that they cast, I feel like someone is gonna know her. So that'll be interesting to see kind of how she navigates that.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, do you want to work with someone? Like, if Taryn were on a season, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'd want to work with you. But then also, you're like, I know how smart this person is because I've seen them analyze these TV shows online. That could be a little bit scary. And maybe that'll happen to me and you, Alyssa. So, but
Maybe.
but yeah, I'm like, those people are just so intelligent, so it could be scary to people. But also it's like any reason to vote someone out on that first vote or even the first handful of votes, you're like, this person talks about Survivor as a living, as a part-time job, as a hobby, whatever the ranking of it is, and you're like, they are probably really, really smart. So then, like, similarly, for like the first vote in Millennials versus Gen X, Will recognized Mari off of YouTube. Or I think like Zach Wurtenberger was saying that he recognized Tori from like orgs and playing orgs. Zach said he didn't use that against Tori, but Will used that against Mari to get her voted out first in Millennials versus Gen X. So I think it'll be interesting. It's like an internet personality that people recognize and they're in the Survivor community. Would that help you or hurt you?
I think it would hurt you probably, but I could be wrong. I think it will be really interesting to see how that strategy shapes up, and then also like moving forward how the rest of the cast looks, because that might also affect things. Maybe none of them are Survivor super fans.
Yeah, it's like people recognizing some of the other people on that cast. I'm like, no idea who that is. I know this girl though. The
Yeah.
podcaster people we know. So I'm excited for season 47. I'm excited to see how these people do. Apparently, it just started filming like 2 weeks ago. So 7/14, they got a week left in the game.
Yep, there's still on that island. So it'll be really interesting to see how these things go. And, I'm looking forward to starting the podcast about it.
Yeah, so let us know in the comments what you thought of Survivor season 46. Where would you rank it in all Survivor seasons of all time? Where would you rank it in the new era of Survivor seasons? Were you happy with the winner in Kenzie, or did you want Charlie to win the game? Let us know in the comments down below, and we will see you all next time now that we're starting the Survivor hiatus off season. So sad, but thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all in the future.